There's no doubt that everyone needs to take responsibility for their own safety. However, as a young woman, it makes me incredibly uncomfortable that people are suggesting that the rights and freedoms of potential victims, that is women, be restricted in order to prevent rape. What about restricting the rights and freedoms of potential perpetrators? Should we be asking men to not walk in the dark unescorted just in case they might rape someone?
Peter Singer, I'll start with you.
Yeah, look, I don't really blame the people who've made remarks about the dangers of walking across parks at night. I mean, I think they apply to men and women. They can be dangerous places. You can't expect the state to protect you everywhere. We don't really want to have a state in which there are police in every park 24/7. So I think, you know, advising people how to stay safe is a reasonable sort of thing for people to do. And it's not really blaming the victim, it's just trying to reduce the incidence of victim. We know who's to blame. There's no question that it's the rapist or the assaulter who's to blame. But at the same time, using a bit of common sense to avoid being a victim, I don't see anything wrong with telling people to do that.
The choice of words sometimes trips people up, and the Mayor of Albury made a thoughtless remark that if women are out walking alone, it's an invitation for someone to take advantage of you. Now, to be fair to him, he's a former policeman, he's seen a lot of terrible things, and he did come out straight away and apologise for it. But that kind of remark is not uncommon.
Yeah, that's not the right language to use, but just to say, look, unfortunately there is a risk some sick, deranged person might prey on you if you do this, and we just cannot, much as we would like to, we cannot protect you wherever you go, at whatever time you go. That seems a reasonable thing to say.
Adrienne, this is the territory of your one-woman show, Asking for It,
Yes.
it's called, and obviously it's picking up on those themes. But going back to the questioner's thought, should we be asking men not to walk in the dark unescorted in case they were to rape someone?
I certainly think suggesting that women should not walk alone is no less illogical. It's as illogical to suggest that men don't go out so that women can be safe. I think anybody at this stage of that conversation that lingers in that part of the conversation completely sidesteps any hope of solving the problem. And it also, I'm never sure which is more surprising in those types of statements, the arrogance or the ignorance. Like most instances of rape happen with somebody you know and trust. So if you start telling women they can't walk in a park, you should probably start telling them they can't necessarily go home, they can't necessarily join the military. If that is the only way to address a problem, then that problem won't be solved. And you know, if I find that the rates of rape and violence against women to be at sort of epidemic proportions, and if we, you know, if there's a disease out there, you don't just look at the victims to try and figure out how to eradicate the disease. You would look at the source of the disease and then start to look at that. And I find that conversation that even begins with, well, she should have been careful, in this day and age is just wildly irresponsible.
You've had American politicians like Todd Aitken, congressman, go much further than that, haven't you?
Yes.
I mean, I suppose you'd have to explain for our audience what he said, and
it's really
he wasn't
easy.
alone either.
Yeah, it's easy to understand. He put forth this notion that if you got pregnant from being raped, it wasn't a legitimate rape because a woman's body would just shut down so that you didn't get pregnant, suggesting that somehow the pregnancy indicates that some part of her was okay with what happened, and then her body was receptive to that act.
Well, another congressman, Rick Santorum, actually went even further than that and said you should accept it as a gift from God if you did get pregnant from a rape.
Yes.
I mean, it's almost too shocking to repeat, but that's what he said.
I know, it really is. And, you know, I don't think... somebody who actually thinks that about a woman's body, I wouldn't trust with the keys to my car, let alone legislating, you know, things about women's bodies and stuff. That's just been brought up so many times that she should be careful. And it's a dead end. It is an absolute dead end to solving the problem.
I think Peter was going to jump back in there. So
I was just wondering what the evidence is that there's an epidemic of rape. I mean, we do, and quite properly, take a wider view of rape than previous generations did. I mean, you know, it used to be that a husband legally could not rape his wife, that there was assumed consent at all times for the woman that she would accept sexual advances from her husband. So that's one kind of rape that you can't compare with the past. But I think if you're talking about...
It's no less rape, though?
Oh, absolutely. I think, of course, it was a progressive advance, but what I'm saying is that I think we have actually made progress. And who knows how many rapes there were of that sort, of husbands raping their wives, when it was not even a crime, and there would be no point reporting it to the police because they would have laughed at you. My view of the way things have gone over many centuries is that violence in general has declined. Your chances of dying a violent death at the hands of your fellow human beings are less in this century than they've been in any previous century. And I wouldn't be surprised if the chances of a woman being raped are also less in this century than in any previous century.